All right, just screwing around some different orientations. This is some of the things you would have found when you removed your regulator from the M17. I'm going to reassemble it, not how it was intended. So I'm going to reuse this valve pin spring, like that. And normally there's an O-ring and then a white valve seat in here, and then the pin went in. And there's also a little screen that I'm not going to use. So I'm just going to drop this in. Nothing inside this 14 millimeter hex. I'm going to drop the pin in. I'm going to drop the pin in. Come on. All right, I'm trying to do this with one hand. Maybe I'll look. There we go. So you can see now it has air, or CO2 in this case is what I'm trying to go for, without reinserting the orifice here, trying to leave more airspace so I can keep a little bit higher velocity, but this is just going to act as a restrictor now. Hopefully. So I'm going to reinstall this down inside. I'm not going to put no Bellevue washers, no nothing. I'm just going to reinstall like I would a bypass with this piston on top. This valve will always be open, but it'll just be restricting CO2. We'll see if I can't balance the power a little better. All right, there it's installed, and you can see the pin is barely sticking up. So when this piston, which I'll install now, is in here, it won't interfere. It's not going to push that pin and allow any more air in than it normally would. So I will run it like this. Oh, I can't get that straight with one hand. Remember what I said, make sure it's straight. I can see it's not straight now. If this doesn't do anything, then of course I'll go back to reinstall the orifice, but got to try it at least, see if it, at least, I could compare the numbers back to back. My hope is that this will restrict it enough and still allow that flow through action here. If not, then orifice it is. Ooh, one other thing. I removed my bleeder. Being I'm using CO2, it's not really necessary to have the bleeder, because you can fire off a whole CO2 and just scrap it. And there's the cap. Reinstalled. Nice and straight. All right. Grimberg Jewel, 8 grams, V2s. I'm going to use the SMG magazine this time. Have my Fiatchi auto on off on there. I'm going to reuse the Lapco 8-inch that I originally used, shooting with a 16-gram CO2 in the back. Originally, with this V2 bypass, it was 46 joules on this short barrel, with a lot of wasted CO2, big clouds come out. So I'm sure this has caused a restriction here. How much, too much, not enough, I don't know yet. That's why we're shooting it. Stir it up. Pretty wieldy little marker now. All right. We want to see less than 46. Not sure. I think that's less than 46. So now it's gonna be about shot count. I got six good shots and then 3 duds pretty much. So if I could get, this holds 8, this SMG mag, but it'll only shoot 7. If I get 7 good ones, that would make this mag useful and the CO2 useful. .42. I did talk for 20 seconds. Come on. Interesting. It is holding very, very consistent. There's a drop there. I think that was the last one. Yeah. Mag's empty. 1 ball left in the chamber. Out of curiosity, I'm gonna put a couple more in there and just see how many shots I get. But that wasn't bad. Did balance it better. But now I have to try it with the orifice. So I'm gonna take out that mishmash contraption I put back into the regulator and just put the orifice in and see which one's better. Is it easier to just leave the orifice in? I'm guessing it probably is. But the goal here was to keep the power a little bit higher and maintain a full magazine. Another 8 loaded up. It'll shoot 7. We shot 7. Shot number 8. .244. I mean, that's still usable. I think much less it's not going to be. Yeah, and there's the big drop. 190. So I got 8 usable shots. And that is it. And because I don't have a bleed screw, and it's not really necessary if I'm running CO2, because that's it. It's done. Look at those nice punctures on there. Okay, well. All right, here we go. So I've taken out the abomination that I put in there, and I'm gonna reinstall the brass orifice. So by doing this, I'm returning this regulator to a V1. V1, you guys remember that. So when I refer to V1, a lot of you guys go straight to V2 and then you have auto fire and la-di-da-di-da. Easiest solution to resolve that is go to a V1 bypass, take the cut in power. It's usually 10 to 15 FPS, but your marker will fire reliably until you get your hands on an upgraded bolt spring. This is from Critical Situations. This is what I was running in this marker during the testing, and I will continue to do so. It has an O-ring seal. When it's brand new, fresh in here, it is Loctited in, so it's a good idea. Just turn this thing up on its end here, heat it with a lighter, and carefully lefty-loosey. But reinstalling, I don't put any Loctite. I just thread it in. Well, you're gonna have to take my word for it. I thread it nice and easy, and then I use the, what are we going here? Then I use a 7mm 6-point socket. Don't use the other sockets. Use a 6-point. And I just tighten it in, and when it stops, it stops. No, zero ugga-duggas when you're retightening this. That little bugger, wherever it went here, it rolled away somewhere. Really? Oh, there it is, hidden over there. that little bugger will snap off on you in a heartbeat. 0 ugga-duggas. Here we go. Removed all the junk in there. Brass orifice installed. Grimberg Jewel V2s, 8 grams. 8 rounds. It'll shoot 7. And on the last contraption, it shot 346, I think was the high shot, and the low shot, last usable shot, was a 244. And that was on the 8th round. Load the CO2 up here. See how she fares. Safety's on. Boom. .348. It was a little bit hotter, and you know something I noticed on that? There was a bit of a cloud. On the last contraption, I didn't notice any cloud. Let's see if that holds true the rest of the way. 338, yeah, the cloud is huge. And shot 6. Shot number 7. That shot number 7 was exactly the same as shot number 8 with the contraption, I'm going to call it, as you've already heard a number of times. So based on the cloud, based on that, I'm going to say the orifice is a little less efficient than what I had done here, but this 8-inch barrel, I mean, that cloud means you're wasting CO2. Now, a good way to make up for wasting CO2 is a longer barrel. So I'm going to test this in the next one with a 10-inch lion claw, because honestly, it shot a whole mag. It shot a whole mag, usable shots on one 16 gram. I'm happy with that. Boom, lion claw. So that is a 10-inch smooth bore 687 lion claw that MCS Modern Combat Sports sells. They are dirt cheap compared to, say, this Labco. And so with this Labco with the flash hider on, you can see is actually the same length as this 10-inch without a flash hider or any sort of thread protector. And the reason I don't have a thread protector on there is because lion claws are 22mm threads. I don't have any muzzles to fit that, so we're just going to shoot it like that, but should give a good indication of what I was losing with that barrel being so short and having this porting here. So I have the 8-gram jewels in there. Put in a new 16 gram. Orifice is still in this, of course. Orifice, of course. And we had what? 346? So it should do better than 346. $350. It did do better. Not by much, 338. 380. 298. 284. 266. 234. I think that was the last one. Yes, it was. So that was the same amount of shots. Higher initial hot shot. But here's something that I'll have to make note of. This line claw is 687. The finish on the inside of this is, I mean, it's an economical barrel. But the finish inside is, and I cleaned this prior to actually shooting that mag, and you can see it almost looks dirty, but that dirt doesn't want to come out of there. That's sort of the way it was machined and coated. And I'll drop a jewel down there. You can see it goes right out. I'm going to run my hone through this and see if it doesn't improve. But this barrel, Lapco barrel that I was shooting with is a 684. So it is a lot tighter. It allows that CO2 to compress a little more in there, which is why I think it finished a little bit better. And here's the jewel in there. You can see, look, didn't even go down. It's very slow through there. See if I can catch, you can catch me dropping it and catching it. In that case, it won't. And it's stuck in there. So you get a point. The jewels are a little bit tight on this, but it's not a terrible thing with CO2 because the CO2 continues to expand. So it almost allows some compression to start happening in there. But I'll run the hone through that other barrel. Heck, you know what? I cut up all my Grimbergs, so I do have a 6-inch Grimberg, which is ultra short, but just out of curiosity, I want to run it through this. Hang on. And just for giggles, that is a Grimberg 9-inch A5 that's cut down to 6 inches. You can see it suits the factory handguard quite well. Let's see what it does. Put a little bit of lube in here. Eight gram joules. $820. Now this barrel is much shorter. Well, let's just see how it averages. $310. $298. $282. $264. $242. $214. And that was the last one. Yep. Point here, guys, I could shoot this all day with every different kind of barrel. The differences are marginal at best, unless you're going with a longer barrel.
But if you choose a length, the lengths, they're all going to perform, you know, within a reasonable level of each other anyway. So, well, as always, I will continue with my experiments. Do I recommend running CO2 through an M17? Absolutely not. But if you want to try, these are some good ways to mitigate the risk of blowing O-rings. I'll catch you on the next one.